So we get it, you're a huge Star Wars fan and you want to be the first person through those gates to see Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland and Disney World. Well, there's a lot of things you need to consider and plan for if you want to be one of the first ones to see Disney's newest Star Wars land. We've got all the details for you here on DFB Guide. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog, and it is time to talk Galaxy's Edge. Now, we've talked a lot about specifics, including the restaurants and the hotel that's coming, and several other details, the rides, etc. But now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. We know the dates, we know when it opens, we're gonna help you get in. Let's get started. We know that Galaxy's Edge will open May 31st in Disneyland and August 29th in Disney World. So, what do you need to get in? Well, you probably need a hotel stay, unless you're a local, and you also need to make sure you have your reservation to get into Galaxy's Edge. That's right! You not only will have to have a hotel reservation, you'll also need an actual reservation to get into Galaxy's Edge, at least in Disneyland. So let's talk about that first. Hotel reservations. In Disneyland, the Disneyland-owned resort hotels, so Grand Californian, Disneyland Hotel, and Paradise Pier, are sold out for that first day of Galaxy's Edge, so you're not going to be able to stay at that hotel unless you arrive later than the first day or way earlier than the first day and somehow get them to extend your stay a little bit longer. And off-site resorts, those ones on Harbor Boulevard, there's lots of hotels there near Disneyland and even within walking distance to Disneyland. But those prices are starting to go up and they are starting to sell out, so get on the horn if you want to stay in a hotel near Disneyland. Over at Disney World resorts are starting to sell out, but they still have quite a few more rooms available because they have over 20 hotels there on property at Disney World, so there's plenty of places to stay. And of course, there's lots of hotels around Walt Disney World as well. So we're not seeing as much of an issue with getting a on-site Disney World hotel booked for the Galaxy's Edge opening there in August. But if you haven't gotten your room yet, expect higher prices and limited availability, especially for Disneyland. So if you're booking off-site in Disneyland, be sure to take transportation into account. A lot of those hotels do have shuttle service to Disneyland or some other transportation option. Okay, now let's talk about the reservations to get into Galaxy's Edge itself. So Disneyland guests visiting between May 31st and June 23rd will need valid theme park admission and will be required to make a no-cost reservation, subject to availability, to access Galaxy's Edge. So information on how to make this reservation has not yet been released. We'll be on top of that for you as soon as it is released. But as of right now, there will not be any standby admission for access to Galaxy's Edge during that period. Now, here's the trick. If you want to guarantee one of those reservations into Galaxy's Edge, Disney did confirm that guests staying at one of the 3 Disneyland Resort hotels, so Disneyland Resort, Grand Californian, or Paradise Pier, will receive a designated reservation to access Star Wars Galaxy's Edge during their stay. So that's why those Disneyland hotels sold out so quickly there that first day, is that Disneyland has said, if you stay at a Disneyland Resort hotel, we will give you access to Galaxy's Edge. You won't have to worry about making a reservation. So that is a big deal. Now remember, that's the case all the way through June 23rd. So if you don't care about being there the first day, you can still make a booking the next day, the second day, the next week, up until June 23rd and get your automatic access to Galaxy's Edge, which is why it makes more sense to stay at an actual Disney-owned Disneyland hotel versus one of those others outside property. Now, we haven't gotten a number of reservations that will be given out each day, so no word on whether it will be like annual pass holder previews of Pandora, which gave pass holders a 2-hour window to check out the park. We don't know how long you'll be able to stay in Galaxy's Edge if you have a reservation. No idea on any of that yet. We just know that you will need a reservation to get into Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge up until June 23rd. Now, no reservations will be required for Disney World. It's a free-for-all when it opens on August 29th. That means there's going to be a lot of waiting in line. That means there's going to be a lot of people waiting outside the gates of the land on that first day. So for Pandora and Toy Story Land, people began lining up about 2 hours ahead of the park opening for those lands. Now, a safe bet for Galaxy's Edge would be at least 3 hours ahead of the park opening to start lining up, since it will be much larger crowds than either Pandora or Toy Story Land. And we do expect people will try to camp out the night before, but no word on how Disney will handle that particular activity. And since we have 6 months before Disney World opens, we'll likely see some changes or perhaps preview events based on how things go over at Disneyland when it opens at the end of May. All right, next let's talk tickets and fast passes. So over in Disneyland, when Galaxy's Edge opens, make sure you have the right tickets. We know that the majority of people who go to Disneyland are annual pass holders in Southern California. So Disneyland annual pass holder blockout dates. Let's talk about those. Southern California Select Pass is the only AP blocked out from Disneyland on that opening date. The Southern California AP starts blockout dates on June 1st, so you'll need to go the very first day or purchase a different ticket type. The Deluxe AP has Saturdays in May and most weekends blocked out through June, but May 31st and June 2nd are good to go. In Disney World, all annual passes and tickets are good to go for the August 29th opening, so you don't need to worry about changing your ticket types. But if you don't have an annual pass in Walt Disney World, we might suggest grabbing a park hopper if you're still planning your trip to go for that time frame. Because if you make it into Hollywood Studios with a single park ticket and find the land closed for capacity all day, you might want to hop to another park. Now, talking fast passes. There will be no fast passes available for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run when Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opens on either coast. This might be the biggest hitch in everyone's plans. Even if you get into Galaxy's Edge, you're going to be waiting in line no matter what. As Disney says, quote, for your vacation planning purposes, please be aware that Disney Fast Pass service, including Max Pass at Disneyland Park and Fast Pass at Hollywood Studios, will not initially be offered for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. Now, we're not sure how long this initial period will last, but we can assume for Disneyland it will extend through the reservation-only period until June 23rd. In Pandora, we saw Flight of Passage lines get up to 6 hours long, and that was with a Fast Pass line, so Millennium Falcon will likely see similar wait times. Now, talking about how big the lands are, figuring out how it can disperse people, capacity for both lands, Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland and Disney World, should be pretty similar. Pandora is 12 acres and Galaxy's Edge is 14 acres, so you're going to see a similar size as Pandora in Animal Kingdom. Galaxy's Edge will only have one attraction open, though, in those first couple of months, compared to Pandora's 2. However, there's so many restaurants, shops, and other details in Galaxy's Edge, those might hold visitors' interest longer than the other things that were offered in Pandora. So you may see dispersal of crowds a little bit better in Galaxy's Edge than you did in Pandora, so those lines may not be as long. We'll see. Now, something else to consider in terms of tickets and planning, is this the day to spring for a VIP tour? Yeah, probably. If it's within your means, a VIP tour is probably a very good way to approach the opening of Galaxy's Edge on either coast. So Disneyland VIP tours, they currently don't have pricing or details on what exactly will happen with May 31st tours, but they are letting people reserve guides at this time, at least when we did our research. So we don't know what happened between when I'm doing this voiceover and when we actually put this up, but reservations for that date are going very quickly. So the cast member we talked to expects the price will go up from the $600 per hour once the details are released. And it also seems that they might be developing a special Galaxy's Edge itinerary, because the cast member we spoke to mentioned they're still deliberating on the specific offerings the tour will have. Now, the current peak rate of a VIP tour is $600 per hour with a 7-hour minimum, so $4,200 is the minimum for a peak rate VIP tour, but the price can always go up. And like we said, this date might be completely sold out by the time this video airs, but the next day and the next day and the next day might still be available. You might be able to do a VIP tour in Disneyland on June 1st, June 2nd, June 3rd without too much trouble if you don't care about being there the first day. And all of this information is the same for Disney World as well for that August 29th date. VIP tours are selling out fast. They're going to have that same peak rate, and we don't know the exact specifics of what the VIP tour guide will be able to take you to. And remember that $12,000 dream tour at Disney World will likely guarantee you access to the land, its restaurants, its rides, etc. But as all VIP tours state, things are not set in stone and availability or itineraries can change. So here's a few other things to consider in your planning. Get ready for capacity closures. After June 23rd in Disneyland and when Galaxy's Edge opens in Disney World, we'll see the land quickly close due to capacity, which means a wait to get into the land itself. When Pandora opened, the Orlando Sentinel reported that at 8 a.m. there was a 6-hour long wait just to get into the land itself. It opened to guests at 7 a.m. for extra magic hours. And additionally, while Galaxy's Edge will be open during regular park hours, Disneyland will not have it open for that extra magic hour hour opening for hotel guests. However, we do expect people will be queuing up to get into the land at that time. Over in Disney World, Galaxy's Edge will be open during Extra Magic Hours, and during Extra Magic Hours, guests staying at select Walt Disney World hotels can spend extra time at Disney's Hollywood Studios, according to Disney. Now keep in mind that Pandora in Animal Kingdom had Extra Magic Hour the day it opened, so limiting it to just resort guests didn't do too much for those wait times. Those wait times were still hugely long. And for all the information above, Disney has also stated capacity for the parks, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and its experiences is limited. Access to the park, land, and experiences may be restricted or unavailable depending on guest demand and other factors. So they're basically covering their bases to say you can't get into Galaxy's Edge for any given reason. So be ready to face the fact that just being at Disneyland or Disney World the day Galaxy's Edge opens doesn't mean you will get in, and if you do get in, Smuggler's Run might have some technical difficulties like Frozen Ever After did on opening day. So, if you make it in, you still can't experience it all. Remember, only Smuggler's Run will be open at both park openings. Rise of the Resistance will be open at both parks later in the year. So, what do you do if you made a September reservation at Disney World hoping to avoid Galaxy's Edge? Well, Galaxy's Edge will likely be a madhouse on opening day, but other parks may be slightly less crowded. When Pandora opened at the end of May 2017, crowd levels in Disney's Hollywood Studios and Epcot were actually lower compared to crowds the previous year. Magic Kingdom crowds were essentially the same from 2016 to 2017. So it may well be that crowds will favor Hollywood Studios when Galaxy's Edge opens, meaning that guests will spend less time at the other parks. And since there's no fast pass for Millennium Falcon when the land opens, they'll be spending their time in line. If you really don't do well with crowds, avoid Hollywood Studios altogether. But if you want to make a go of it, follow some of our general crowd tips. Plan to be there early or late, with the preference being early, of course, because you might not get in if you wait till the very end of the night. Be ready to wait a long time for everything. Pandora had guests waiting an hour to get into stores and 45 minutes to get out of them again. Plan to take breaks whenever possible, particularly midday. End of August and September in Disney World will be really hot. Enjoy the atmosphere and excitement. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see a new land opening at a Disney park. To be one of the first people in Batu, stay positive and stay nice. And also remember to take advantage of after hours and early morning magic offerings if you want to get into those parks and not battle some of the more significant crowds. So hopefully that'll help you a little bit in planning for your trip to Galaxy's Edge. And remember, a lot of these tips apply only to those first few days. The lines are going to be long for a long time. But in terms of closing to capacity and things like that, that will probably slow down a little bit after the first few weeks or at least the first month. So if you're going a month after opening, you're probably going to be a little bit better off than those of us who will be there the first day. So thank you guys so much. Please let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. When are you going to go to Galaxy's Edge? Will you be at Disneyland or Disney World? Let us know your tips and tricks for dealing with crowds in a very crowded park. Thanks for listening, you guys. Thanks for watching. We're so excited to experience Galaxy's Edge with you. This is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.